Would I be the a-hole if I asked my husband to choose between me and his friend? Me, 29F, and my husband, Alex, 32M, have been happily married for 3 years. Alex has a very close friend, Rachel, 30F, whom he's known since college. Rachel has always been a part of Alex's life, and I've never had any issues with their friendship. However, things changed recently when Alex and I had a baby girl. I expected our lives to undergo some changes, but what I didn't anticipate was Rachel's continuous presence. In the past few months, Rachel has been coming over to our house almost every weekend. She's there for hours, playing with our baby, offering parenting advice, and essentially becoming a regular fixture in our home. I initially didn't mind the support, but it started to feel overwhelming. I wanted quality time with my husband and our child without having a third person around constantly. When I tried to talk to Alex about it, he defended Rachel's presence, saying she was just trying to be a good friend and help us with the baby. Last week, things came to a head when Rachel showed up unannounced on a Sunday morning while we were having family time. I tried to be patient, but I ended up losing my cool and told Rachel that I wanted some privacy with my husband and child. Alex got angry with me, accusing me of being ungrateful for Rachel's help. It turned into a big argument, and I felt like I was losing my own home. Eventually, Alex and Rachel went out, and I was left alone feeling like the bad guy. P.S. She never had any kids of her own.
Am I the a-hole for not letting my relatives stay in my house when they visited without telling me? I live by myself and I travel a lot for my work. About 8 hours ago, I came home and took a nap which turned into a 4-hour snooze fest. I woke up to knocking on my gate and yelling. I went to see who it was, and it was my cousin Ed and his siblings along with an aunt and her kids and grandkids. It was about a dozen of them all smiling at me. Ed told me that there was going to be a little family reunion and they needed me to let them stay at my house because it was the only place that had enough room. I said no and told them I had no prior knowledge, nor did they inform me beforehand. I also told him the reason I live by myself is because I don't trust most of my relatives. Ed told me they have no money and other relatives can't host them as their houses aren't big enough. I told him they could stay with another aunt, but her house is unfinished and has major leakage. They begged me and I still said no. I offered to let the younger ones stay with me, but that's it. They swore at me and left instead. Ed told me I was an a-hole, but I shot back that he didn't inform me and he should know I won't let anyone else stay at my house because he was one of the reasons for it. He threw a party, got drunk, started a fight, and destroyed my TV. At that time, the family downplayed what Ed did because to them I have money and can easily replace it. Am I the a-hole? I feel bad for turning them away, but they should have asked me first. Am I the a-hole for grounding my son over my other son falling off a table at the school library? My 2 older boys are in the 11th and 6th grade. Their schools are right next to each other and are only connected by the library, which has one side for the middle school and high school, but sometimes the middle schoolers come to the high school side to use the computers at lunch. On Tuesday, my 17-year-old Jack and some of his classmates had a group project that was due, but their handwriting was so awful that their teacher sent them to the library to type it out. As it would happen, my 11-year-old Christopher was there with his friends on the computers on their lunch. Christopher saw Jack and his friends and started showing off. He got on the library table to dance and fell off. He landed on his elbow and needed surgery. Apparently, the librarian was in her office and not supervising. Jack texted me and I was in a complete panic. I had some time to piece together the events and asked Jack, why the frick didn't you stop your brother? I don't care if you had to drag him off the table. Chris is a dumb 11-year-old boy and Jack is way more responsible. There's zero excuse. Jack said it wasn't his fault and he wasn't in charge of him and didn't tell him to get on the table. I said it was all irrelevant, so now you're grounded for the rest of the week, which sucks for him because spring break is next week and his lacrosse team is having a weekend beach party starting tomorrow. His mom thinks I'm being too hard, but it's much harder dealing with an 11-year-old boy who literally needs me to pull up his underwear.
Am I the a-hole for telling my wife to get over my daughter's short hair? I, 40M, and my wife, 42F, have been married for 5 years. I have a 14-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. Her mother wanted nothing to do with her when she was born. When I met my wife, she was worried about being a bad stepmother to my daughter. They became close and they do a spa day every Mother's Day. My daughter has very long hair down to her shoulders. She hates putting it up in ponytails and she complains about the length of time it takes to blow dry. She's a big tomboy and one of her friends recommended she gets a pixie cut, so I booked her an appointment to get the cut she wanted and she was very happy. She's been in such a great mood and loves having the short hair. When I brought her home to see wife, my wife dropped what she was doing and looked like she was about to faint. She asked why I allowed my daughter to cut all her hair off. I told her that this is the cut my daughter wanted. My wife got furious and started telling me about how I ruined daughter's image. I snapped back at her to get over the haircut as it made daughter happy. That was all I wanted, was for my daughter to be happy. My wife continued to complain about the haircut even around my daughter, and I had to tell her multiple times to drop it. My daughter has been very depressed and it's worrying me. I have been giving my wife the cold shoulder and she's being very cold to both me and daughter. So, am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for waking up my son after his stepdad told me not to? I have an 8-year-old son named Dylan and I share custody with my ex Danielle. Danielle is married to Chris and I'm married to Christine. Christine and I took a week vacation this week. Dylan didn't go because he had school and was with his mom, but he has spring break next week and I'm taking him and my older son, Dylan's half-brother, to Palm Springs. Dylan is very attached to me, Christine, and my older son. We did FaceTime with him and he cried saying that he missed us. We came back last night and I asked Danielle if it was cool if we came by to see Dylan even though we're picking him up tomorrow. Unfortunately, we didn't get there until 11 p.m. but it was fine because Danielle and I always have things to discuss. Dylan was asleep, we were getting ready to go and Danielle said she was going to take a bath and we could see ourselves out. I took some of Dylan's stuff outside and then came back into the house. Chris looked at me like, "Why are you back?" I causally mentioned that I was going to say hi to Dylan. Chris said Dylan was dead asleep. I said I'm sure he is, but he probably will be upset if me and my wife left without seeing him. Then it got weird. He said, "Hey man, can you just not wake him up?" I was like, "What?" He said it's a hassle getting Dylan to go back to sleep and he wanted to go to sleep himself. I said I was going to put him back to sleep anyways. He started complaining that it took him an hour just to get Dylan to go to sleep. He even took him in the shower, melatonin, and gave him his noise machine to play. I said you're not going to tell me I can't say bye to my kid, but like I said, I'll make sure he goes back to sleep. I'm talking about 15 minutes. He was pretty mad. Dylan didn't even wake up, so I just left him a Godzilla plush toy that my wife got him while we were on vacation. Now there's clear tension between me and Chris.
Am I the a-hole for not letting my girlfriend into the bathroom? I was taking a shower and in the middle of it my girlfriend suddenly knocks on the door and pulls the handle several times. With the water running it was difficult to hear what she said. She then proceeds to turn off the lights in order to get my attention. I shout that once I'm done, I will open the door, but she doesn't want to turn the light back on until I open the door. I get a bit irritated about the situation since I can't really see anything, and I'm nearsighted on top of it being pretty dark. She wanted to go work out and brush her teeth beforehand. After I was done, we got in a bit of an argument since I said it was unnecessary to turn off the lights while I was in the shower and that she just could have waited until I was done. She starts ranting about wanting to head off so she's at the gym before a certain time, since then the treadmills would be taken and so on. I just felt it was a bit unnecessary, and now she headed off while the mood wasn't particularly at its best. Am I the a-hole for not opening the door right away? Edit. For people wondering why I lock the door and think it's weird, the reason for it is that I just value my privacy. I don't like people running in while I'm showering. Of course, it doesn't do anything if she sees me without clothes since she is my girlfriend. It's more of a personal preference. We both do it.
Am I the a-hole for telling my mom that if she forces me to live with her that I will never forgive her? I, 15F, currently live with my older cousin, 30F. About a year ago, I was staying with my mother, 51F, and her boyfriend, 49M. Unfortunately, when I was staying with them, we got evicted from our house due to noise complaints when my mother would argue with her boyfriend, as well as being behind on rent. So, I had no other choice but to live with my cousins. When she dropped me off, she helped me get my stuff out of the car and with no emotion, she said, "I'll text you later," and drove off. That was about a year ago and it still makes me upset to this day because she showed no emotion when she dropped her own child off to live with somebody else. Ever since I walked through my cousin's door, my life has gotten better. I've gotten better grades in school, I feel safe here and it's always quiet when I go to bed at night. I wouldn't know what to do if I was living somewhere else. Fast forward 4 months and my mother got a job and a house. The minute she signed the lease for the house, she automatically wanted me back. I told her that I do not want to be around her if her boyfriend is there, and she freaked out, threatening to come over in the middle of the night and yell in front of my cousin's house. After she threatened to call the cops on my cousin, that's when I finally snapped and I told her that if she forces me to live with her, I will never forgive her. After I said that she only brings up the topic every now and again, when she used to bring it up every time I saw her. So, am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for telling my stepdaughter my daughter will always come first? My ex-wife, 37F, and I, 38M, share custody of our daughter, Haley, 15F. My ex and I started dating when we were 18 and she fell pregnant when she was 21. We divorced when Haley was 4. 8 years ago, I met my new wife Dana, 37F. She has a daughter from a previous marriage, Jen, 16F. I've been in Jen's life since she was 8 and as her biological dad isn't the most involved, I've assumed a paternal relationship with her and we get along great. About 2 months ago, I said I'd take Jen to a concert. She was super excited and I know it was a band she'd wanted to see for a long time. However, last week, I received a text from Haley that she was performing in a dance competition and that she'd saved me a ticket. I realized it clashed with Jen's concert. I didn't know what to do as I'd already made a commitment to Jen, but after some thinking, I realized I had to go to Haley's show. When me and my ex divorced, I always said that regardless of any new relationships, Haley would be my #1 priority. I explained the situation to Jen and she was really upset. I told her I'd arranged for her uncle to go with her instead and she said it wasn't the same and wanted to go with me, especially as I'd made a commitment to her first. I told her I'm sorry and although I love her, Haley will always have to come first for me, that I'd make it up to her and we could do something another time. Jen refused to talk to me and has barely come out of her room since. My wife was livid, saying while she understands that my daughter is important, I'd let Jen down and she should be just as important given I've lived with her for 8 years. She's now sleeping in another room and has done so for the past 2 nights. I feel awful about the whole situation, but my daughter is and always will be my priority and I didn't want to miss seeing her perform.
Am I the a-hole for kicking out my brother and nephew because he played a dangerous prank on my daughter? My brother and his son Eli, 9, recently got evicted because my brother lost his job. My wife and I took them in because we have more room in our house than my aging parents have in their condo. My wife and I have a daughter, Naomi, 12. Now, my brother considers himself a jokester, and it was funny when we were kids, but in my opinion, it's immature at his age. He has passed this on to Eli, which is funny since he's 9. Eli's favorite prank is hiding other people's things. Naomi is deathly allergic to many common things, so having an EpiPen on hand is absolutely necessary. 2 weeks ago, Eli hid Naomi's EpiPen and she freaked out. She wasn't having an allergic reaction at the time, but still. The thing is, the EpiPen was on a shelf which Eli is too short to reach. My brother admitted to helping Eli with his prank, and I chewed him out about it. I told him that if he or Eli hid Naomi's EpiPen again, I'd kick them out. I explained how Naomi could pass away without it, and my brother seemed to understand. Last week, Naomi actually did have an allergic reaction and needed her EpiPen, and it wasn't where she'd put it. Eli rushed up to the guest room to get it, and thank goodness we were able to inject her before it got really bad. After I was done helping my daughter, I told my brother to get packing. He said that I wasn't being fair because Eli had stolen it on his own this time, and that it was just a prank, and Eli's just a little kid, etc. Pretty much everyone is angry at me because my parents really don't have that much space for 2 extra people in their home. They are calling me heartless for kicking them out over a kid's prank. So, am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for using hall passes my wife gave me? Okay, I am in a tough situation right now. My wife had a 6-month affair in the 7th year of our marriage and got caught. It was a shocking and devastating thing obviously. It took years of marriage counseling to get back where we were previously. She offered me 1 hall pass for each month of her affair. I used the hall passes my wife gave me at the beginning of the reconciliation. I slept 3 times each with 2 different women without my wife knowing. When she gave me the passes, she put rules. 1. She should not know the use of hall pass unless she asks. 2. I should answer her questions honestly and in detail if she asks. 3. Protection is a must. 4. No emotional connection. I obeyed all these rules, and I am going to be very honest here. It helped me subside the resentment I had towards her. That is just how getting even feels, I guess. Not that it's a great thing, but it's a fact. It has been 5 years since everything, and we were doing great. Last week she decided to ask me about the hall passes out of nowhere. I was honest with her as she asked. I answered every question she asked. Maybe I shouldn't have been honest thinking now. She does not even look me in the eyes now, and is in a depressive state. I know this calls for another marriage counseling for us, and maybe individual counseling too. I did not even remember the hall passes and women before she asked, but I feel like crap now. Was I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for telling my son to pay back the money he spent on his online girlfriend? I, 45M, have a son, 16M, that loves to play video games. I purchased him a PlayStation 5 for his birthday last year, and he plays online with friends. He's been telling me that he has been chatting online with a girl, 15F, and they have slowly started dating. They don't talk over the microphone as hers broke and he has no idea what she looks like. I told him to be careful on what he sends her and to not give her any personal information. My son has his own credit card with a limit on it and I told him to not go over the limit and only use it for emergencies. I got the credit card bill for this month and there were charges repeatedly for the game he plays and charges of $50 to $100. I was furious as he gets gift cards for the games he plays for his birthday and Christmas. I approached him with the bill and asked him what the charges were. He told me that his girlfriend wanted new stuff for the game and would break up with him if he didn't purchase them. I told him that I would pay the charges and that he would have to pay me back the money, that there were many jobs that would hire him. He got angry with me that he wouldn't have time to work as he plays sports and school. I told him that if I was able to balance working and school, he would have no problem doing it. Then I took his credit card away. He's not speaking to me now and only speaks if it's in regard to being picked up or needing a ride to see his friends. He's mad that I'm making him pay the money back and get a job. So, am I the a-hole?